Dave from Cyberstrike.
I am Raul.
We are here to talk a little bit about ourselves and, answer some questions that we have been asked regarding equipment, practice tips, influences, and such. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. So the first guitar I had was begrudgingly given to me by my parents because they were totally against the music I wanted to play. But it was a Yamaha Blue Saraceno model, very cheap guitar that I got from Music and Arts. It stayed in tune about as good as a shoestring. But it was my first guitar, and that's what I learned on. And I was about 12 when I first started playing.
My first guitar was an Ibanez EX series. It was probably like the lower cost model. I think the cheapest that we could afford at that time. Probably cost me somewhere a little over $200. I was 16, I believe, when I first picked up a guitar.
So early influences actually would be the kid responsible for me getting into the guitar, a friend of mine, Nitai, who I went to school with, was really influential in, actually, he got me into Megadeth, and Megadeth is like my influential band of all time. It's my favorite band. But he also introduced me to other bands, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, even bands like REM. There's a band called Shelter. They're kind of like an underground hardcore band. Black Flag, he was totally into Black Flag. So some of those were kind of the influences were Megadeth, Dave Mustaine, of course Metallica, things like Iron Maiden, Sabbath, Zeppelin, the classics, I guess you could say.
First few bands that I got into was Iron Maiden, Metallica, Striper, Grim Reaper, and Wasp were kind of like the bands that I followed during my formative years.
Current favorite guitar players. Well, obviously still Dave Mustaine is my guitar hero, so he'll always be on that list. Wow. He's not with us anymore, but Jimi Hendrix, I love some of the stuff that he's done. All Along the Watchtower is probably one of my most favorite songs of all time. Wow, guitar players. I like the duo of Jesper and Bjorn from In Flames. Although Jesper is not in the band anymore, a lot of those classic albums like Colony and Clayman, I love their melodic take on the death metal tones. And there's some other bands out there that I'm not familiar with the names of the guitar players, like Disharmonia Mundi, they're like a extreme band from Italy.
Okay.
But yeah, those guys are pretty much on the list there.
Okay. If I can name five, just limited to five, I would say currently Piers Nielsen of Scar Symmetry. I think he's probably my favorite right now.
I think he's underrated.
Very underrated. But he's one. Jeff Loomis, of course, Marty Friedman, Skolnick, and I always throw in Rocky George just because he had such an influence on my playing. Like I always wanted to play just like him, growing up. That was the guy that I wanted to emulate.
So for my equipment, my guitar here, I'm using a Dave Mustaine signature model Dean VMNT. This is the Angel of Death model. These guitars are, for me, the first one I have three of these. I have a black one and there's a translucent blue one. They sound really good. They have the signature Dave Mustaine Livewire Duncan pickups in them. Of course, the Grover tuners. Everything on this guitar is very high quality. Neck through construction with the strap locks and everything. Of course, they are active pickups again, so it has a really nice bright tone to them. As far as effects go, I've been using this. I believe in keeping my sound very simple. So this here is just the the Boss ME20. It's basically 3 channels. Has different kinds of effects, though. You can, choose your distortions, your modulations, chorus, flangers, phasers, and such, and then reverbs and delays. Very simple rig. I don't use a lot of effects in my stuff, but as you can hear, it just has a great. So, as far as amps go, I've been using Crate forever. Crate's just always been good to me. I get a lot of shit for it sometimes because I am playing through a solid state rig. So this is the Crate FlexWave 120, solid state again. Very basic setup. We got some onboard effects, your clean channels, and then there's overdrive and high gain for leads. But again, I don't only use the effects from the Boss, so I keep it on the clean channel. Coming through a full stack, it's coming through a 412 Crate cab, and on the bottom, I actually got this off of our guitar player Raul. It's a Carvin 412 cabinet, very solid, a great tone, and it processes. The thing I've had a hard time finding sometimes is getting a cab to process the solid state tone, because sometimes, like if I put a Marshall underneath this head, it won't, it doesn't process the sound as well. But this Carvin has been, like I said, it's been really great, and it's bright and heavy and chunky, which is, of course, everything we want. And so that's pretty much my gear setup. Use a Line 6 wireless setup as well. Shure mics, signature Dave Diamond picks. Gotta have the swag.
Well, like I explained earlier, I've always had Ibanez. There was a time where I played other brands, but for some reason Ibanez always caught my eyes. And and this is the last one I bought. This is an RG350 QMZ. What's particular about this one, of course, besides the modifications, is that this finish is actually European models. For some reason, they only get sold in Europe. I was lucky that Guitar Center, apparently somebody brought it to Guitar Center, and I think it was a Guitar Center in Wisconsin where I got it from, and they shipped it over. Yeah, but it just has that translucent finish to it. This is probably like one of my backup guitars. My main guitar is white. You'll probably see in the pictures. The pickups, I got these on eBay. I can't remember what brand they are, but they were just, I think $35 each. They were pretty cheap. The pickguard is from a company called Greasy Groove. They do custom pickguards, and me being me, I kind of get bored of simple stuff, so I have to mess around with stuff. So I put these custom pickguards. All my guitars have custom pickguards from Greasy Groove. I've been using Boss for a while, but this one is the latest I've gotten, the GT10. It's pretty robust, pretty big. It has a nice tone to it, and it's a lot simpler than the stuff I had. I had Line 6, which have been good, but I think there's it has a little better tone to it. Has that nice tone to it. As far as amp, I'm using the EVH 5150. I've been using this for probably close to 2 years. I love it. It has a nice tone to it. It's almost like a 6505, but it's a little, for some reason I think it sounds a little cleaner. And of course my trustworthy, always dependable Mesa 412, which I got in Guitar Center close to 5 years or maybe 6 years ago. And I love this. I mean, this is probably the main focus of my sound is these speakers. They really have a nice metal sound to them.
Oh, it's always good to woodshed, basic things like alternate picking. If you want to be a fast riffer, I highly recommend alternate picking. I learned alternate picking with songs like Is There Anybody Out There by Pink Floyd, and also songs like Dust in the Wind from Kansas. So songs that you wouldn't necessarily think or associate with metal, but the techniques that are used in metal are very, kind of detrimental to the playing style. But for playing metal, I learned, I played alongside with Kill 'Em All for my right hand, because James Hetfield is, everybody knows, is a fucking riff master. So for the speed and the riffing, I played along with Kill 'Em All, and then to exercise my left hand, I played along with Rust in Peace. So, Rust in Peace, Dave Mustaine, again, is a really great songwriter, and his riffs are really innovative as well. But they're definitely a lot more stretches, a lot more complex playing style. So, that, and, also, try the schedule time. Play what you want to play. Don't, necessarily think you have to sit down with one of the old, the Mel Bay books and, learn theory. And, that's a bunch of shit, in my opinion. Because if it sounds good, it sounds good. It's not anything where you need to sit down and learn straight from a book.